It was a lunch I remember like yesterday. Sitting in a diner in San Diego across the table from a man who was crying in his pastrami sandwich. He had been criticized online, and actually he was criticized also offline, and the critics were largely wrong. But he was still crying in his pastrami sandwich. In fact, I just started eating his French fries because, after all, why should those potatoes needlessly die for some man's insecurity? And that got me thinking about the topic of criticism. In just a moment, I'm going to tell you one of the very first stories out of my business and how I realized I wasn't as tough as I thought I was. But before I go there, let me just tell you that by the time today's show's over, you are going to be boldly and better equipped to deal with critics and criticism, which are going to naturally come when you have the kind of success that's coming to you. EdTalks Live is next. Hey, what's up, party people? My name's Ed Rush, 5-time #1 best-selling author, your host for the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. Today we're talking about how to deal with criticism, and I've got 3 or 4 shows planned for you over the next 2 to 3 weeks that are going to blow you away. I've got 4 different experts coming in addition to a live Q&A session. We're going to talk about how to use your voice, how to publish books better. I've got one of the world's leading international gold experts coming in to talk about his mission to grow civics education in the United States. But today, we're going to talk about how to deal with criticism. As usual, jump in on the right-hand side on chat. Tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do. If you're on Facebook, that is below you. I want to say hello to some of my friends. What's up, Barry? Good to see you this morning. All of the wonderful people jumping into chat right now. What's up, Robert? Good to see you. Robert says, I like the smiling face picture of you. Thank you. Diana said that last time. I appreciate you as well. Diana, thank you for the comment about the flight brief as well. Here's the thing when it comes to criticism. When you are you, when you are the natural, authentic, raw, unedited, real you, when you are the you that you were created to be, you're going to naturally do 2 things really well. You're going to attract the right people to you and your message and your business, and you're going to simultaneously repel the wrong people. Now, the number that I'll be sharing with you in just a moment when I get up to the whiteboard is 7 to 12%. My best guess is if you're not getting 7 to 12% negative reviews or 1-star reviews, you're actually not doing something right. Because when you really push it a little bit and when you really share who you are, it's natural for you to get critics. And that can be in any topic and in any field. Like, for example, I just made I showed you a comment from Diana Lovejoy, who's in the organic gardening world. You would be amazed at how many people, even in that world, are critical of each other's ideas and thoughts. It's natural for that to happen. It's certainly not good for that to happen. And in a moment, I'm going to show you why that criticism is not about you, actually. It's about the person being critical. But first, let me just tell you a story. It was back in 2007. You see, I'd gotten out of the Marine Corps in 2006, which, man, that was 15 years ago. I can't even believe it was that long ago, actually. Got out of the Marine Corps back in 2006, and I started a small course on how to be a fighter pilot. Started building this business, and I started becoming successful. And I was getting more sales, and I was helping more people. People were actually using my material and getting into the military, and it was amazing, and it was fun, and it was lucrative, and it was a blast. And all of a sudden, one day, I got a customer. And in the field that said, where did you hear about us? He actually put the link to a forum where people were talking about me. Now, by the time I had gotten there, that forum had gone on to page 4, and let me just tell you, it wasn't nice. It was a group of anonymous pilots, or at least they said they were pilots, who were on an online forum. Not one of them put their name in there. Not one of them had an email address where you could contact them. It was a bunch of anonymous people. Now, I have a rule that goes like this. Now, I don't think anonymous people have a vote, okay? So if somebody says something to you anonymously online, that's insignificant. If a customer replies and gives you some constructive feedback, that is, in a moment, I'm going to show you the difference between those two. But needless to say, that anonymous online forum wrecked me. Now think about this for a second. I was a combat Marine. I was trained to go into some of the most hostile environments where people would be shooting at you. And then I got out of the Marine Corps, and some anonymous people without a vote started saying some things. And for some reason, I took that to heart. I remember I was on a speaking trip. I was actually speaking at a university in Pennsylvania. I was staying in someone's guest room on one of those pull-out couches, okay? And I remember at 2 o'clock in the morning just sitting there in that room on that pull-out couch, just stressing over what people were saying about me. Now, that story is kind of funny now, which is why I have a rule that says if it's going to be funny later, it's funny now, okay? Because it wasn't funny then, but it should have been. Because it shouldn't have been any big deal, but it was. And it was then that I realized I needed to find a way to deal with critics or criticism because it was shutting me down. I knew that I had a message and a service and products that were going to change the world, much like you do. But I wasn't going to be able to get out of that if I couldn't overcome and deal with criticism. So on today's show, we're going to talk about how to deal with criticism. And I can guarantee you by the time we're done, you're going to have a big smile on your face. Let me say hello to a couple other folks. What's up, Ron? Good to see you. Billy Wilcox. I was just talking to Chris on the phone a couple days ago, brother. I'm going to see you in 2 days. No, I'm going to see you tomorrow. I'm going to see you tomorrow. Billy Wilcox. By the way, for those of you who don't know Billy, one of the best martial arts trainers in the world. And I'm speaking to my favorite group, baby, martial arts business owners this weekend up in Huntington Beach. So, you know, me and the martial arts folks, we get along really well because I'm horrible at martial arts, but I do know a little bit about discipline training. So we're going to talk a little bit about that this weekend too. So this is how to deal with criticism. My name's Ed Rush. By the way, if you just joined us, we are here Tuesday and Thursday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific time, 1 o'clock Eastern. And by the way, we're coming up on a season break. So in just a few weeks, we're going to be taking a break on EdTalks Live. I know. You don't have to put your tears into chat, okay? And then we're going to come back into season 2. It's already been like 132 episodes, by the way. We're going to come back into season 2 with a new show format and a brand new show, okay? So all that's coming down the pike really soon, which is going to be a blast. He's on his way. DJ, my man. Oh, dude, I got to just say, hold on. Don't you stay here, DJ Neri, before I get into my teaching stuff. Let me just tell you. First of all, I met DJ from that fighter pilot program that I was just telling the story about. DJ is one of my good friends, one of my long lost friends. Dude is writing a book. I can't tell you about it because it's awesome, okay? And I'm under sworn top secrecy. But this dude's writing a book that's going to be the best science fiction book that you have ever read, okay? So that's all I'm going to say about that. I miss you, man. I miss you. Bon and I were literally just talking about you 2 days ago, brother, up in our kitchen. So it's awesome to see you, man. Oh, man, my long-lost friend DJ just made my day, brother. All right, so for those of you who just joined us, my name's Ed Rush. We're talking about how to deal with criticism. Step 1 on how to deal with criticism is chill. It's not about you anyway. All right, look, when I started to understand, step number 1, okay, how to deal with criticism up on the whiteboard. Step number 1 is chill. Okay, so here's the thing. Remember I told you in the opening, I was sitting with that guy. He was crying over his pastrami sandwich over the fact that he was dealing with criticism. And frankly, it was easy for me at lunch to help him through that because it wasn't me. But you know what? When it comes at you, it feels a little bit different. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story. I was at an event 3.5 years ago, and I was teaching. It was my event. It was an event called the Ultimate Breakthrough. Some of you have been to this event before. It is one of the most powerful events you'll ever attend. You show up on day one, and by the lunch on day one, you have literally broken through your biggest barrier in life and business, okay? And I have a technique for teaching you how to do that. Part of it is having a conversation with God, which I've taught everyone to do, no matter what their religious background and experience, okay? But I did this event, and this event was powerful. This was moving. There were about 90 people at this event, and maybe 70 to 90 people at this event, if I'm remembering this correctly. And the change in the room was tangible. And by the time the end of day one, you could just feel the energy had just so shifted that people were so transformed and so changed. And I was feeling great. It's a 3-day event, so I went back to my room like I normally do, say goodbye to everybody, go back to my room, order some room service, just kind of sit there and just breathe it all out, just thank God a little bit for the kind of day. Now, I got done with the training day, and I got back to my room, ordered my room service, sat there, and all of a sudden I got a text message from my lead team member at the time, and he texted me and he said, "Hey man, great day. Don't worry about that email that guy sent." I'm like, wait a second. I wasn't worried about the email the guy sent. I wasn't even going to check my email, but now I'm worried about the email that the guy sent because he said, don't worry about the email that the guy sent. Okay, so I go into my inbox. Sitting inside of my inbox is a 4-page email. This dude was at my event, and somehow after the event, in the time it took me to say goodbye to everybody, get back to my room, put on that hotel robe, and order room service, dude had written a 4-page email. And it was not nice, okay? And his email was the reason why he was leaving the event. And it was couched in constructive criticism. And he went some places I wouldn't even imagine anybody would go. In fact, he spent a whole bunch of time in his email explaining to me why I was pushing away and offending and turning off the women in my audience because I chose to play a video of the movie Braveheart. Okay, now for context, roughly 55 to 60% of my live event attendees are women. The same is true for my mastermind group. It skews a little bit more towards women. So, unless I'm missing something, my communication style is effective enough not just to not to offend and turn away, but to attract the kind of business owners that I'm looking to attract despite their gender. Okay, okay. So, dude wrote this long 4-page email, and what happens when you read an email like that, when you're the kind of person like I am, you just gave your heart and soul for this event, is it goes like this. You ever feel this? It goes whoom, and it hits you like right here. And you're like, oh, and that feeling that you have, it's almost like someone kicks you in the solar plexus and you just got knocked out of energy. Okay? So it's feeling great. Everything was great. The event was amazing. There was massive breakthrough. I hit that email and I'm like, boom. Whew. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Now, here's what happens in our minds when that happens. It's one person. One person. Say there were 80 people there. It's one person out of 80. And I'm going to explain what was happening with this person in just a moment. But your mind immediately goes, well, it's probably everyone. I mean, if he thinks the event stunk, and if he's leaving, I wonder how many of those, that's probably a lot. In fact, he probably told another 20 people, and they're probably all right now in someone's room conspiring to leave my event. Now, none of that's true, but you start imagining those things. And as I started imagining those things, I could actually feel myself getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And then I decided to do the thing I always do when I encounter criticism, is I take the criticism and I give it to God. Okay, let me tell you how I do this. This is one of the most powerful things that you're going to learn today, okay? So what I do is I literally take this and I pretend that I'm taking it, I'm putting it all together, okay? And what I do is I just simply in prayer, usually I do this standing up, is I just say, God, I just received this. I do this with success too. I just received this success. I just received this criticism. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this to you. If there's anything true in here, I'd like to improve. But anything that's a lie or anything that's false, I'm just going to give this to you. And I'm going to give this person to you. And then I always do this. Listen to this. This is really important. I just say, I bless this person with whatever they're going through. I wish the best for them, and I bless them, and I love them. Now, in that moment, in my hotel room, in this beautiful suite up in Del Mar, in that moment, in that hotel room, something amazing happened. What happened was, in that moment, I saw snapshots. Boom, 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 boom. I saw snapshots of this man's life. And in his life, for 70 years, by the way, he was 70 years old. For 70 years in his life, I saw these moments where he was just about to get some sort of breakthrough. He was just about to achieve the thing that he wanted to achieve. He was just about to get over whatever it was that was holding him back. And the fear of the success that he was about to get when he overcame that fear was stronger than the fear of being stuck in that place. And so every time throughout this man's 70 years of existence, he simply retreated backwards every time he was about to get a breakthrough. And when you retreat backwards, if you're about to have a breakthrough, you only have one mechanism left. Because if you retreat, you can't say, well, it's my fault, I retreated, because then you would move forward. So you have to go backwards and blame someone else. And I saw this series of him blaming the vehicle that was going to bring him to his deliverance every single time. And in that moment, I felt something I never thought I'd feel before, which was compassion. I want you to think about that for a second. This guy wrote a 4-page email. None of it was nice. And after reading the email and a short prayer and a picture of what this person's life had been like, all of a sudden, I felt compassion. I felt sad, actually. I felt really, really sad for this individual who used criticism as the defense mechanism to cover over his own inability to move forward. And it was in that moment that I realized that criticism, for the most part, is not about you. It's not about you. In fact, sometimes you get it because you're doing the right thing. I want you to think about this for a second. When you stand up and you be you, I mean you, like the real you. When you stand up on that stage and you're the real you, like everything you were created to be you, no pretense, no fluff, no hiding, no shame, you. Like when you're you, you know what happens? Your audience is going to go wild. They're going to go crazy, man. They're going to high five, high 10, low 5, low 10. They're going to start sending your links to everybody, okay? But there's going to be somebody in that audience who knows that they've been pretending their whole life. And the moment they see you up on stage like real you know what happens? They have a decision. They can take the lesson that they learned from you and be like, you know what? I've been pretending my whole life. I'm going to be me. Or they can retreat into self-defense criticism. And when they criticize you, your temptation is to be like, man, maybe they're right. And then you retreat and you don't get the kind of success you want. Or you bless them and move on. Remember what I said, 7 to 12%. 7 to 12%. Check this out. This is my book. This is the screen from my book, 21 Day Miracle. Okay? Hang on, I got to switch the screen. Here it is right here. Okay, so this is 21 Day Miracle. This is my reviews. 4.3 out of 5. I have 67% 5-star reviews, and we're just too shy of 400 reviews. By the way, if you've read the book and you haven't given me a review, 2 today would be awesome. Then we can get to 400. Okay. Now that's pretty good. That's pretty good. By the way, look at this, man. Like I go to all the positive reviews. Woo! There's Jim Butts, my man Andrew Lockwood. There's Sharon Worsley. There's somebody else. I don't know who these people are. Like, look at this, man. 5-star. Look at it. It's worth 2 reads. Oh, this is so great. All these people are like, Can't wait to start. Mindset changer. How to become a doer. This book will get you. This is good stuff, right? Okay. So these are the 5 stars. These are the 5 stars. Now check it out. Where do most authors go? Oh my, here we go. Boom. Now check it out. Okay, what a badly written book, says Barbara Slade. Okay, Barbara Slade has no idea that she's on my live stream today, okay? Oh my gosh, what a badly written book, okay? Don't brag. People won't find you interesting, I guess. Okay, this is officially the worst review I've ever written for a book. Sorry, not sorry. Check out this one. This guy contacted me on social media acting as if he wanted to partner with me. Now let me ask you a question for a moment. Do you think that happened? First of all, I'm like never even on social media. I mean, like my appearances on social media are so few and far between that occasionally I will respond to someone, but I don't reach out to people like, hey, leadership Ed, can I So here's the thing. Somebody reached out to him on social media acting as if they wanted to partner with him. Someone did. It wasn't me, but it was someone. So this guy, whoever this guy is, leadership Ed, decided to think that it was me and blamed me in an email, in a thing that wasn't true, okay? This guy, Reader Book says, misses the point about deep works. One-niner says it was repetitive, okay? This person thinks I should have gone and flown for the airlines. This person said this is just a Christian book about achieving your goals, which it's not, by the way. This person, K. Wall, took the time to write 3 letters. Math. All right. K. Flickinger forgot to read the footnotes. Okay, so that messed him up. And then, oh goodness, this person took the entire afternoon to write this 1-star review, and I could go on, I found his right-wing politics offensive, which, as you know, I'm not right-wing. All right, so you're alienating many readers. Oh, you know what? This is funny. So check it out. So you know what I said? They got upset about, I made a comment about climate change. Here's what I said about climate change. This is exactly what I said. I said that if you're going to have an opinion on climate change, you should look at the models. That's all. And then in the footnote, I said, you'll notice I didn't say either way, positive or against. I said, but it would be interesting to know what your reaction was. And if you read the footnote, you can see how I catch a lot of people with a sentence that was neither right nor left. It was just a sentence about knowing the data, okay? People get freaked out about stuff like that because they assume something about a guy who was a fighter pilot. Okay, now, my point is, if I spent time, and I looked at those this morning before the show, and every time I do that, a little bit of me is like, and I'm going to tell you why that happens in just a moment. But the first thing you need to understand about those people that I just read, Kay Waugh and Sharon, whatever her name was, I can just guarantee you one thing about all the people that I just read those 1-star reviews from. One thing you can know for sure about all those people is they've never written a book. See, here's the thing. You can't be a creator and a critic at the same time. You can't create great things and criticize other people at the same time. Those two genes don't coexist in the same DNA. So if you want to be a critic, be a critic. If you want to be a creator and change the world, be a creator and change the world. But you can't do both at the same time. Like, think about some of the most creative people that you know, the people who are really out there, really changing things. They're not critical people. They're too busy creating things. So you can either be a creator or a critic. So when you look at those 1-star reviews, what you realize is that there's some sad people. There's some sad people who haven't achieved the things they want to achieve, and instead they fold themselves back into a critical mindset. By the way, if you want to understand the phenomenon of cancel culture, what I just described can help you perfectly understand that. We have a generation of people who are by far the single most selfish generation of people we've ever raised, and yet somehow they're super interested in these social issues in canceling people. Well, why would that be the case? Let me give you a hint. You see, if in your heart you're stirred to make a change, but in your body you don't. If in your heart you really want to see the world change, but in your body you play a lot of video games. If you do those two things simultaneously to make sense of that that disparity in your life, you have to feel as though you're doing something by criticizing or canceling someone. And if you do that, you feel like you're actually making a change when you're really doing the reverse while you're playing your video game. Okay? The real change would be to get your butt to Africa and go fix the water supply, or go to Washington and actually do something productive instead of telling people all the things that they're doing wrong, right? Or write your book, or launch your show, or start your podcast, or do something worthwhile instead of canceling people who are, okay? And I know I'm getting all crazy about this. I already decided, just so you know, I'm pre-canceling myself. I'm already canceling. I'm canceled, all right? So now I can't get canceled because I'm done. I got it. I already canceled myself, okay? I did that like a year ago. I'm already canceled and past it, all right? So just so you know, if I accidentally say something that offends somebody, which I guarantee I already did, KY, I read her thing online. If I offend somebody, I already apologized a year ago, all right? And I know I'm making light of a serious situation, but sometimes you just have to do that, all right? So the first step, oh gosh, is chill. It's not about you anyway. I want to get into the chat. What's up, DJ? Several more scripts underway. What's up, Marquetta Breslin? She and I talk about this quite a bit too. I love this, dude. The devil is called the accuser of the brethren. We are the people embodying. Thank you, Robert. You guys are great. Thank you for letting me rant for a moment there. All right, step number 2. First step, by the way, for those of you just joined us, my name is Ed Rush. This is how to deal with criticism. Step number 2. Step number 1 was chill. It's not about you anyway. In how to deal with criticism, step number 2 is, okay, maybe some of it is about you, but still chill. Okay, did you catch that? Maybe some of it is about you, but still chill. Okay, so now, step 1, chill. Step 2, still chill. So about 7 years ago, we were doing an event. I say we because it wasn't my event. It was someone else's event that I was partnering with them on. And not the guy that I wrote the 1-star review. And in the event, we used to hand out these post-event forms where people would write their critique of the event. And I don't do that at my events because I think that's a worthless exercise. But at this other event, they were doing it. And every time those critiques would come in, our event planner would fill out this huge Google sheet with all the answers inside of it. I guess it was a spreadsheet at the time. And then she would send it out like a week later. And every time I got that email with the spreadsheet, I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, I was so nervous. It's kind of strange, right? It was so nervous because I was worried about what people were going to say. And every event, it was like, Ed was great. He was my favorite speaker. All this, like, it was great, 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 great. But I opened it up this one time and everybody had said really great things except for one person. And the person said, she said, the event was great. I just wish Ed had not given the same talk he did last time, but instead I wish he had given us some new content. Well, I like lost my mind. Okay. I'm like, what does she know about doing events? I can't believe it. And I was really pissed for like 2 days. Okay. This was like 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago. I'm much more mature emotionally person now than I was then. Okay. And about 3 weeks later, I came back to the guy that I did the event with and I said, you know, she was right about that. Like I actually did the same presentation. I don't know why I did. I just felt like I should do the same presentation. I just did it. It wasn't like it was exactly the same crowd. It was kind of different a little bit. But I did the same presentation. And I said, yeah, she's probably right about that. I probably should have just made some new stuff up. So like 3 weeks after throwing a temper tantrum, I realized, okay, she's actually right. Okay. So the reason I tell that story, this is a really quick point, but the reason I tell that story is there are some times when the criticism that you get is actually right. Okay. And it's about encouraging you to be better. And sometimes maybe it's not delivered the right way, but a truly emotionally mature person would look at that and go, is there any truth in here? Okay. Now that brings me to my third point. Okay. So the second point, first point was chill. It's not about you anyway. Second point was, okay, some of it is about you, but chill anyway. And I'm going to bring you to my third point. And I think there's a question that just popped up. Hang on a second. Let me just jump in here and let me see, because I want to make sure I give time to answer your questions. What's up, Luis? How do you move forward and pump yourself up when you work with a client and they don't get the best results because they didn't implement what they hired you for? Man, that is an awesome question. I'm going to cover that, okay? So hang with me. So step number 3 is dealing with what I call crap partnerships. Sorry for the language. It's the best word I could use, okay? So here's what a crap partnership is. And remember I said I was going to show you why criticism is effective against you? Okay, the reason criticism is effective is because you've been lying to yourself. So when people come in and they say these things to you, if you've been lying to yourself, it works. If you haven't, if you know it's true, then it doesn't work. So let me give you an example. I told you in the beginning, there was a guy that I work with, a client quite some time ago, who was crying literally over lunch onto his pastrami sandwich because he was getting criticized. The problem with criticism isn't the criticism, it's when it connects to a belief system that's already inside of yourself. So I'm just going to tell you something that's very transparent, and I don't usually say this, but I've worked with some of the biggest experts and gurus in the world. If I was to give you a list, you'd see the list. In fact, I could even show you a list of some of these folks. I will, actually. Not the folks that, don't make this correlation. I'm just saying I've worked with a lot of really well-known people. And I've run out of fingers and toes to count the number of people who have come to me and said, Ed, I feel like a big fraud. I feel like an imposter. I feel like a faker. Now, it would be one thing if it was some random person who's just said, I feel like an imposter. But if you knew the people that I'm talking about, like if you knew the number of books they had read or the hundreds of thousands of people whose lives were changed and transformed because of this person who literally can look back 15 years and go, when I read his book, it changed my life, or events that they've had, or the life that they've lived, or the great example they've been in their business to their employees and their team members and in their marriage and everything. I mean, I'm talking about good people. I'm talking about people that I aspire to be. I'm talking about the kind of people that have inspired millions and millions of people who feel internally like a fraud. Now, why is that there? Well, as one of the comments early on said, like, accusation is natural to your enemy to use against you. But some point in your life, like around 6 years old, kind of thing, something happened. It was mom or dad or your kindergarten teacher or your brother or your sister, but there was a voice that you agreed was going to be part of your voice. And that voice sounded like this. Psst. You're such a faker. You're such a fraud. It's a little whispery voice. And it was an outer voice that became an inner voice. And then it terrified you. And the truth is, you might still be terrified. And the truth is, we all are. Okay? I mean, like, we live in a world, if y'all know the story of Genesis 3, with the fig leaves. You remember when like Adam and Eve were like, I'm just going to hide myself. And they sewed together some leaves so that they could hide. Well, like we've been doing that for a really long time in our culture. T.S. Eliot, love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, says, there will be time to prepare a face to meet the faces that you meet. Most of the people that you meet have prepared some version of a face that's actually not really them. And because of that, we kind of do feel a little fakey, a little fraudy sometimes. But as you mature and grow, you start to become more of who you are, and that's a process. But when somebody comes along and they write that 1-star review, I found his views to be offensive. Nah, if you just join me, I read some of my reviews from, I found his views to be offensive. If you've been telling yourself all this time, you're a fraud, you're a faker, you're an imposter. If they only knew the real you. Have you ever heard that voice inside? If they only knew who you really were. Okay, let me just give you like a little encouraging hint. If you've been telling yourself, if they only knew the real me, if they only knew, welcome to the club. Because 8 billion people in the world right now are saying to themselves, if they only knew the real me. Now think about that for a second. If we're all doing it, maybe we ought to all stop doing it. But here's the challenge. If you're saying this stuff to yourself right here, and some person over here says, yeah, you're a fraud, when those two voices partner together, that becomes a crap partnership. When your inner critic meets the outer critic and they're saying the same thing, that will shut you down. And look, there's no like personal development, positive talk, mumbo jumbo that's going to get you back on that horse again. There's nothing you're going to be able to do to stop that unless you fix the inner voice. So the inner voice can get fired. Some of you know I've done this exercise with you before. It doesn't take long. You literally stand up and say, hey, inner critic, you're fired. You may have served me for a time and you may have been my protection mechanism, but I don't need you anymore. Instead, I choose to believe that I've been made in the image of God and I'm created for great works, okay? And if you just start saying that to yourself enough, you will start to believe it. And next thing you know, you're going to get a 1-star review and you're going to go, God, I just bless that person. I just bless that person, you know. They only wrote meh for my book, but I bless them and I just want the best for them too. Like, could you imagine that? Could you imagine being able to get a 4-page letter after an event and be like, I just bless that person. Man, I love them so much. I just hope that they're okay too. I mean, if you were to do that, think about this for a moment. If you were to do that, then when you get a 5-star review, you can celebrate and smile. And when you get a 1-star review, you can celebrate and smile. That's amazing. That's amazing. And it comes by fixing this voice that happens right down deep inside you. The truth is, you are a son or a daughter of the King. You were created by a God who thinks you are amazing. And look, if I just said those 2 sentences, it should be enough to deal with criticism. I mean, think about this for a moment. You are a precious, amazing, beautiful piece of art made by God himself, and you still worry about how many likes you get on Facebook. I mean, like, those 2 things should be incompatible. You should be able to put something up on Facebook or on YouTube and be like, man, I'm made in God's image. Whoop, here you go. Whatever you want, whatever you say is fine. Thumbs down, thumbs up. I'm happy either way. And I'm just telling you, look, I've come a long way. I'm not there yet. It still does. I mean, every once in a while, I'll get one of those comments and be like, man, it hits you still a little bit. But by the way, the biggest difference for me isn't the fact that it hits me a little bit. It still kind of does. I kind of get back past it a lot quicker. Okay. All right. So the first one is chill. It's not about you anyway. Second one is, okay, maybe some of it is about you, but still chill. Number 3 is how to deal with crap partnerships. Let me jump into, and thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Let me jump into the chat real quick, and then I'm going to go to number 4. Step number 4, we're almost done, by the way. I'm going to take your questions. Step number 4 is how to recode your immunity to criticism. How to recode your immunity to criticism. I started talking about this a little bit. It's the belief system that happens inside first that needs to change. And then the second thing that needs to change is your response to the things that come outside. So the belief system inside, I used to say I just remind myself, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Made in the image of God, created for good works, okay? There's a verse, some of you read the New Testament in the ancient scriptures. It says, I am crucified with Christ. It's no longer I live, but Christ who lives in me. And the life that I now live, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. Man, you say that enough times, your image of yourself will improve, okay? I'm a new creation, created in Christ Jesus for good works. The old is past, the new has come, right? You start saying stuff like that to yourself, 1 Corinthians 5:17, you start saying those things to yourself, your mindset will begin to change. Now, something else that I do, which is particularly helpful, remember what I did when I first went here to my 1-star reviews? I actually went over to the 5-star reviews, okay? So I went and hit these, 5 stars, Andy Lockwood's is great. Great insights. Nothing could be more awesome than this. 3 steps to changing your life for the better. Every person should read this. This book works, said Fiona. Excellent guidance, said Andrew. It's worth 2 reads through. Okay? Practical action. Look at this. This is good. Can't wait to start. Mindset changer. How to become a doer. Short, sweet, and awesome. Another great book and tools from Ed, said Tony B. Straight to the point. Short and juicy. Gives you courage to begin. Looking for change. This is the book. Look at this. This is like so great. I'm talking like, so for real, there's 67% of my reviews. There's 400, almost 400. Hey, thank you. I got one more since we started the show. All right. Oh man, I hope that this is a good one. So, so I don't know what 67% times 400 is, but it's like a lot, 250 or something like that. That's a lot of good reviews. Or I could do this. This is edrush.com/coaching. Which, by the way, some of you needed to go look at this page. This is worth looking at, right? So here's a list. This is a short list of people that I've helped. Brian Tracy, John Assaraf, Mike Koenigs, Pam Hendrickson, Bo Eason, used to be on Broadway, Pat Zemer, who has made unbelievable amounts of, I mean, I'm talking about 7 to 8 figures. Tamika Henry, Leanne Reed, Malika Woods, Mike Semmel, Marie Carmen. I mean, these are like some of the movers and shakers in the world, man. 7 to 8 figure businesses and stuff. And that's just a partial list. There's Chris, I'm going to speak at his event this weekend. So I could take a look at this list right here. I could read my reviews, or I could go, for example, this website here is edrush.com/topgun. Like when you scroll through this website, it's unbelievable. These are the people I've taught. $74,000 on her first deal, $5,000 with his first deal. Rob's made hundreds of thousands of dollars based on what I've taught him, by the way. Kendra, again, hundreds of thousands of dollars from what I still know these people. Zamira Jones used to work for Disney. He's having more fun now. Happiest place on earth, my butt. Ian Bossler, $37,000 deal. Gary Rush, who still sends me referrals. Unbelievable. John Cody, $12,000 a day. I mean, like, I could go on and on and on. I could go on and on and on. And it feels self-serving for me to be putting these up there, but I'm telling you how I work through some of this stuff. I'm recoding my brain to remind myself of the great work that I've done and the many people that I've helped. You could do the same thing. Like, all you need to do is take your phone out, scroll through the contact section, and write a list of the people whose lives you've influenced. That helps you recode your brain. And here's why I do this. I don't do this to be all like, look at how great you are. I do it like this. I do that to remind myself of what I want more of. I've helped thousands of people make a lot of money, have a bigger impact, and live more vibrant lives. Okay? That sounds self-serving, but it's taking me someplace. I've helped thousands of people. Man, I can't wait to help 1 million more. I can't wait to help 7 billion more. That's where I take that. You see? It's just about helping people. It's about serving. It's not about selfishness. It's about serving. Like, let me show you this video. This video blows my mind every single time I watch this. Oh, I gotta find it now because I had it pulled up, but hold on a second. Here we go. Check it out.
A lot of things have stayed the same, but there's a lot of things that are new, and you know you're always going to be on the cutting edge of everything that's going on in all things digital.
This is my 3rd year, and my business has grown exponentially. So the first year it grew 20%, and this last year my business grew 40%. And all of that was from the ideas and concepts.
When I first started my business less than 4 years ago, I had $500 in the bank and had no idea what to do. By surrounding myself with high-level entrepreneurs and different thought leaders from around the world, I've been able to grow my business to hit 7 figures this year.
When you leave one of these groups, you go home with a notebook full of stuff and you're just pumped up. You just have so much goodness that came from sitting around talking to people, both in the official meetings and afterwards, sitting around having a glass of wine.
If you are serious about this and you're committed to achieving whatever goals you have for your business and you know there's no going back, I would say from my experience that I waited too long and that I could have gotten to where I am and where I'm going much faster if I had just invested with someone who could have said, hey, do this, do this, do this. And that's what they've done for me. It's been amazing.
Get off the fence, man. Get going. You got to do something. And this, I guarantee you, is the best thing you're going to find. This is totally the most comprehensive program going, and you'll get to closer to where you want to go if you just follow through with Ed.
Step into one of these high-level spaces, get involved in a mastermind, or even work privately with Ed. I would take that opportunity in a heartbeat.
So, I mean, if I look at that, if I watch that video, it feels self-serving in a way, right? Because you're like, oh, it's not talking about me. The idea is, I mean, there's people there who are lifelong friends. Jim House, man, I've been working with Jim for years now. We were just talking yesterday. He helped me write and launch 21 Day Miracle. Lori Barr, who's one of the best radiologists in the world and works with doctors and has lived this incredibly abundant life. I mean, there's a story, you hear the story, $500 in the bank to 7 figures. You know how many questions I've got asked by that? So if you want to recode your software, take some stories of people that you've helped like that and then say, okay, I'm going to get about 1 million more of those. Okay? That's how you begin to build your immunity to criticism, because you can't You can't have a 1-star review and that video exist in the same place, right? One of those is true. Either the 1-star person is deluded and wrong, or the hundreds or thousands of people who've given me testimonials are deluded and wrong, and that's not possible, okay? So I'm going to choose to believe this, and I'm going to choose to get more of those. Am I in process? Yeah. Have I made mistakes? Of course. Have I said stuff that I didn't want to say? Yeah. That's why I canceled myself. Okay? Or will, or whatever. Like, we're human, like things, we're growing, and you're in process, and you're trying, and you're learning, and you're experimenting, and that's great. That's great. You're going to make mistakes. I have a 2-year-old. The other day, she was running, and she tripped and fell down. She got back up. So what? That's what 2-year-olds do. For some reason, like when you turn like 20, you stop getting back up again. But sometimes it's just time to get back up. Okay, so that's number 4, which is how to recode your immunity to criticism. Number 5, this is super quick. I have a very simple rule that says if it's going to be funny later, it's funny now. Some of the most difficult moments in your life, you and your spouse or you and your friends will look back on and laugh about. So I have a rule that says if it's going to be funny later, it's funny now. So just code that one into your DNA as well. All right, for those of you who just joined us, my name's Ed Rush. This is how to deal with criticism. I'm about to wrap up the show. I'm going to take your questions here for just a minute. I got a really good question that just came in. What's up, Robin Phillips? Good to see you as well. That's not Robin's picture, by the way. I'm assuming, Robin, that's your kid. All right. So, Marketing Luis, what's up, dude? How do you move forward and pump up yourself when you work with a client and they don't get the best results because they didn't implement what they hired you for? All right, so Luis, so what you just asked is like one of the main frustrations that I get from a lot of the clients that I've taught, which is what happens when you offer something to somebody, they pay you for it, they don't get results, but it's because they didn't implement, okay? So I want you to write this down. It's really simple. You are responsible to your client. You're not responsible for your client, okay? So I keep pretty accurate records, detailed records on the work that I do. Every once in a while, it hasn't happened in probably 5 or 6 years, but I'll get an email from a client who will say, I didn't get the results that you promised, and I will go back through the emails and I will go through the recommended implementation items that I've given them, and I will start to go through and see which ones they implemented. And so I remember about 9 years ago, Luis, I got this letter. Boy, it was a long letter from this couple that said, we thought you were our knight in shining armor, which I thought was kind of weird. And they said, but you didn't come through and you didn't deliver. And I went back and realized that I had given them over the course of 8 months, 25 different action steps, and they hadn't completed any of them. And so I wrote them a very nice letter and I just said, here are the 25 action steps that I've recommended. So far to date, I have not seen you implement or take action on any of them. Please let me know if this isn't true. I certainly would like to be able to update my records, but my best suggestion for you is to get into action on the things that we talked about so that you can see those results. And to their credit, by the way, this very, very rarely happens. To their credit, Luis, they wrote back to me and they said, Ed, you are totally right. We didn't implement, and we're going to take responsibility for that, and we're going to take action. And I thought, man, that was pretty mature of them to be able to do that. Okay, so if your client is directing it at you, I would literally put it back and go, here are the things we recommended. I haven't seen action on these things, which means if you want to see the result, then do the things that we talked about. If you don't, then don't. Okay, and so that's the way that I work that. It's hard. I'm not saying that it's easy. I mean, I've dealt with that. I mean, I've had 462 clients, man. So there have been some that just it didn't work out. Like I said, it hasn't happened for a while. Part of that, Luis, for me, the reason it hasn't happened for a while, by the way, isn't me. It's my selection process. So when you go into coaching with me, I've got a filter process to see if you're a good fit. And I've done it enough to be able to know, yeah, that person's got the implementation mindset. They've got the personality and the drive, the abundance mindset to be able to make it happen. And part of my interview with somebody is that. Now, I'm not like, you don't have the implementation mindset. I'm just in an open conversation with my clients. And Luis, it's been my experience that most of the time, if someone's not right for coaching, they already know it coming in. They're like, yeah, I already knew. And usually we wait a few months and sometimes they're ready and sometimes they jump in. So sometimes it's just that process that goes there as well. Boom, what's up? That's the grandson. Okay, that's good to know. I have a 2-year-old DJ, face 15, JoJo's 2. I should find a no. So Bob, I don't do guarantees for coaching. No, I do. The guarantee for coaching is everything that I promised you, you're going to get, and then some. So all the things that I'm promising to my clients, I always give to them, and then they get extra. But I always tell them, look, this is an implementation program. The results that you get are going to be because you implement the strategies that I'm giving you. If you don't implement, you're not going to see any results. And so I used to guarantee coaching, but I don't do that anymore because of the reason that you just described. There, a lot of times the issues you might have with clients is because they're pushing back on some of your recommendations, and you're like, do it, it'll work, and they're like pushing back on it, and then there's like this stalemate where it doesn't happen, and I just try to stay away from that. They say enemies are useful best when they have the best honest criticism because they don't like you. So how do you sort truth from just being critical? Thank you for that. So the first one is kind of going back to, like, I just want to start with what's true, you know? And that's why I usually start the day with some Bible reading, a little bit of journaling, really kind of put my energy into the right place and start with what's true. I'm a child of God in process. You're a child of God in process. And I just want to be open and honest and transparent. I have found that most people with a conscience believe about 10 times more of the criticism than they should. So about 20 years ago, I had a mentor. I had a guy who wrote me a letter 20 years ago and say, you are so prideful and egotistical, and pride is like such a big issue for you. And I literally brought the letter to a mentor of mine, and I said, everything he said is right. And my mentor said, he's not even close to right. He's just jealous. And I needed a mentor to be able to look at me and look at the letter. And so I think if you take those things to somebody that knows you and loves you, like Marquetta Breslin's here, like if Marquetta got a letter like that and she brought it to me, or Ricky, if I brought a letter to Marquetta or Ricky, her husband, and I said, it feels to me like what this person's saying is true. What do you think? They might say, yeah, you know, I've noticed that you tend to say this, and maybe you should say something different, but most of that's not. So sometimes somebody who knows you really well. So I usually start with God, and then I go to people that I trust on that. Robert Torres, I hope I see you this weekend, dude. I hope I get to see you this weekend, man. I'm driving up tomorrow morning, baby. It's going to be awesome. All right, so just a quick review. Today we talked about how to deal with criticism. Step 1, chill. It's not about you. Step 2, okay, maybe some of it is about you, but still chill. I talked about how to deal with the crap partnership between the inner voice and the outer voice and recoding your immunity. And then the last point was if it's going to be funny later, it's funny now. Next week, yeah, dude. Oh, I know. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about bringing my gear. But then I thought about it. I'm bringing my wife, so I was thinking like maybe we could just like have a nice morning, you know? So I feel like, Robert, she's giving me a better offer right now. Yo, Rusty Humphreys, my man. That's one of my favorite people in the whole world. By the way, if you don't know, this guy right here is one of the kings of radio for the last 20 or 30 years. Thanks, Ron. We'll see what happens this weekend. All right, so don't forget, next week I've got some great shows lined up for you the next few weeks, and then we're going to take a little bit of a season break. I'll explain what that is as we get a little bit closer. But don't forget, you have a mission or a message or a product or a service that's going to change the world. So go do it, okay? EdTalks Live is out.